here I am in Quartzsite, Arizona. Here's some of my neighbors. Oh, look at this. The sun is setting. There are more people all around. I'm over in the area called Skadden Wash. I got some portable solar panels too. So I kind of disappeared for a while, but I've decided to kind of jump back in. Oh boy, just for various reasons. But let me just tell you, so the past couple of months have been kind of tumultuous. I ended up getting a new scooter. So let me show you over here. I have a new scooter. Away in their little car. Oh, and I got these, so I'll show you these. So I ended up getting these solar panels right here. These are 220 watt portable to augment the 700 watts I have on the roof, because during winter you just don't get, I get about a third of the power from the roof. I had some trauma with my last scooter. You've probably seen in many of my videos. So this one is new. It's by the same manufacturer. It's exactly the same body style, which I really wanted because that fits perfectly on the back of my RV. So now I have this new scooter. Anyway, it fits the same on the back almost. It actually, you can see there's a wear pattern right here from the scooter there. The handlebars on this are wider. And at first I was concerned that it was not going to work. So this actually now fits. It fits a little bit differently. And my previous scooter, I could take off. I put on sort of coming this way, and then I would take off going that way because the ramp can fit on either side. But this scooter, I cannot take off going forward. So what I had to do was make some adjustments. I had to make some adjustments to the way the tire fit, because the handlebar was hitting right here and it wasn't fitting with the way the previous scooter could. So you can move these pins right here, and I was able to move and shift that pin so the scooter actually fits a little bit closer. You can see I've still got this board here that I put, which makes it so much easier to get it on and off. But you can kind of see back there, I actually had to cut the board at an angle right there to make that tire fit a little bit better. So there it is. So you can see it has better brakes in the front and the back, and it's electronic fuel injected, which is a big deal. It's more efficient. My previous scooter had a 125cc engine, and this is a 170cc engine. So it's got about 40% more power, which means I can get up to higher speeds and just have more get up and go. I mean, the other one actually did really well, but this one just is the next step up, and it has the more efficient electronic fuel injection. And the problems I was having in the previous scooter were because of the carbureted system. And so basically what had happened was, probably for the past year and a half, I've been having some weird issues with my previous scooter where it would just randomly lose power. And I would take it into the scooter shop in Utah Valley that I would go to, and they couldn't figure it out. So I was down in St. George about a month and a half ago, and I was having more and more of the problem. So there's a motorcycle shop in Lake Havasu that's actually serviced my previous scooter before. And so I took it into them, and it ended up being 2 weeks in the shop while they tried to diagnose it. It turns out that there was an electrical problem, the ignition switch was going bad, and the carburetor seemed to be going bad. So they fixed the electrical issue and said it's all fixed, and I went in to pick it up, and I was all excited. I drove it just a short distance to my RV, and it seemed to drive okay. And I did something really dumb. I picked up and I came down here to Quartzsite, And then I took my scooter off the next morning and drove it, and about less than a quarter of a mile, it died again. Just died, and I couldn't get it to run. So I packed up again and I went back up to Lake Havasu, and I took it right back to him and I said, you guys, it's not even fixed. It was actually worse than it was before. It is the Twisted Metal Cycle Shop right here. It says Twisted Metal Cycle Shop. That is where I got my scooter fixed, and then rode it no more than probably 20 miles, and I shelved it and then bought my new scooter. And that's when they found the carburetor issue. So right then and there, they actually did some stuff and they fixed and found the carburetor issue. So that scooter's now running. But I had sort of decided that it was getting to the point where I was having enough problems with it that I thought it's time to get a new scooter. So I packed up, and I'd actually called the scooter place up in Utah Valley. There had been one scooter that I knew they had that I really wanted, which was this one, and it turns out it was on sale, a year-end sale. So I hightailed it up there, 750 miles from here up to Utah Valley in a day and a half, and I went and bought it. So so I was here, and then I picked up and I hauled up my butt all the way back up to Utah Valley. And I didn't record any of this. I wasn't in a place where I wanted to record. I should have. But this is a great scooter. It gets up to 65 miles an hour. So then I came back down and have come back down here. And so what I want to show you in this video is just some of the drive from, say, Las Vegas down to here. There's sort of what I call the nomad corridor. People that go up and down from being down here in the Southwest follow this corridor from St. George to Mesquite to Las Vegas. And I was in my spot in Las Vegas, and then down to Bullhead City and Laughlin, and then Lake Havasu. And so it's just this whole sort of corridor that I've been up and down bunches of times. So I'm just going to kind of show you what that is like in some of the areas in case you're ever curious about doing it. So here's the other thing that was happening with all my scooter, was that my radiator died. That was a whole other thing. So I ended up having to get a new radiator. This is a brand new shiny radiator. I had driven all the way up to Utah Valley and then back, and you know, this summer I had the thermostat replaced, and the temperature readings in the RV have been really steady since then, but I started having weird erratic temperature readings on the RV, and I was leaving St. George, and all of a sudden the temperatures were spiking up. So I pulled off at the Walmart, spent the night there, and then the next morning I checked, took this off, and it was about a third low. It was like really low, and I was like, oh crap. So I actually had coolant with me, and I filled it up, and I got some more, and I needed to put a full gallon in there. Yikes. So I drove all the way back to St. George and made an appointment with a mechanic shop that could handle my rig, and it cost me $1,700 to get a new radiator put in because it was cracked. There was a big crack in it, and it was losing fluid. So that's the other thing that I've been doing. Okay, time to get going. I just really like this spot. Just an occasional car drives by, kind of like this. So, on the road, approaching Searchlight. I always like to stop here just as a little way stop point, just to get something to drink. So you have to go through this little mini pass to get to it. And Searchlight is at quite a higher elevation than Las Vegas, so it's just kind of this long, steady climb to get there. Climb. Just about to the summit, and then right around the corner is Searchlight. Here we go, coming into Searchlight, and they have you slow down dramatically. You're going like 65, and they have you go down to like 25 in town. Searchlight, elevation 3540. There's a little church right there. Everybody welcome. I am always really careful with that here because, you know, small towns can be known for having speed traps because it's like a revenue source for them. Terrible's Roadhouse. So I guess this was all like an old mining town. So now it just basically survives on being just a stopover point here on this drive south. And it's weird, you're out here and they're just like boats, boat storage. I don't know what that's about. There's just this, look at that tug right there, whatever that is. I'm not gonna get gas, but I do wanna stop off and get something to drink. It's windy. Wow, it's windy, but it looks like I've got a total tailwind too. Look at that, windy, windy. So fortunately, look how windy it is, but it's a total tailwind, so that's fantastic. Whoa, my head almost blew off. Windy, oh my gosh. I didn't realize it because when you have a tailwind, you don't quite notice it. So yeah, I almost always stop here at this gas station here in Searchlight. It's just a stopover point, and I just like to, come and take a break. Okay, goodbye Searchlight. So there is one rest stop that I want to stop at. Probably the most elaborate rest stop that I've ever been to is on the way to Bullhead City. And I should have gone and peed back there, but I didn't. And then I got a soda, which I don't normally drink. I don't drink soda usually, but once in a while, it kind of strikes me, and I'm on a trip, so dramatic mountains in the distance. And this is just this great big open expanse. There's not a cloud in the sky today, and it's just expansive. And yeah, look at this. It's actually quite chilly outside. Just cold system has come through, and it feels like winter temperatures have finally hit. So I've got my heater going. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick stop here. Southern Nevada Visitor Center. So it's technically, I guess, a visitor center as much as it is a rest stop. Yeah, see, look at that. And clear evidence of my tailwind. I wonder if they allow people to overnight here. I don't know, because there's a big dirt lot over there. I've seen people over there all the time. There's a little picnic extension right there. So one of the other things I did when I was in Lake Havasu, when I was getting the scooter fixed, was I put new tires on the front of the RV. The old front tires were old, and I decided to just replace them, so that's done. Yeah, you could, because I'm driving north to south, I can't even feel this wind, but it's actually quite windy. I've got a full-on tailwind, which is actually really helping me, but I can really see how windy it is here. Yeah, this is by far one of the coolest sort of rest stops. Nevada's geology. Look at this. This is very cool. And we're way down right there. Cordilleran tectonics have created the basin and range landscapes and interior drainage of the Great Basin, providing a rain shadow to make Nevada the nation's driest state, and generated frequent earthquakes along normal and strike-slip faults. Interesting. Okay, well, that was a good little stop. Boy, it's chilly outside. Walking straight into that wind, oh, it's cold. But look at that big dirt parking lot. There are no signs saying no overnight parking, so I'm gonna guess they probably allow it for people who need a way stop. Okay. Not a lot of traffic today, so it's easy driving. So, Bullhead City always has some of the cheapest gas. The only cheaper place I've seen was in Littlefield, right between St. George and Mesquite. I'm still driving on some of the gas that I got back there, which is amazing. So we climb for just a little ways and then start rapidly descending. So now I'm gonna have a bit of this side wind. So let's see, Laughlin, 19 miles, and then that's just the same as Bullhead City. And here we are, this is the summit. And now we'll slowly start going down into the valley that Bullhead City and Laughlin are in. Every now and then when I'm driving down here, I'll see people camping out. I'm guessing this is all BLM land around here. Yeah, so I think right off to the right over here is one of the areas that I've seen people camping. You can kind of see, yeah, there are people camping out there. Looks kind of like a cool area. Lake Mead National Recreation Area. But this is my favorite part because this is where the geology just is super interesting here. And when the sun is setting, it's just dramatic. And there we are. There it is. First sight of the casinos. It's just, this is so dramatic. This time of day in particular. Oh, I could actually turn off here and go to Needles, but I don't want to do that because the cheap gas is down there on the other side of the Colorado River. For some reason, I always tend to come in here at night, and so this is very dramatic, but just because of all the casino lights. But it is a different type of dramatic during the day. I mean, those mountains there, those just sharp, craggly mountains are so interesting. I remember years ago, back in the 80s, when I was a teenager and I lived in Las Vegas, I would see signs for Laughlin, and I had never been down there. And I always kind of wondered, like, what is Laughlin? What is Laughlin like? Laughlin, Bullhead City. Okay, here we are. Okay, so that side is Laughlin and the casinos. Now we're crossing the bridge from Nevada over into Arizona, and we're crossing the Colorado River. It's always got this just beautiful blue color. And then there's Davis Dam off in the distance. And I've got a really awesome parking space here. I've actually technically got 2 parking spaces, but they're right next to each other. Now we're going to be turning back into having a tailwind, which will be nice. Let's see, there's both, I think, a Lowe's and a Home Depot here. Okay, yay, back to, so you can see the casinos there. So that's the fun side, and then this is the business side, where all the cheap gas is and where people live. Not many people live on that side. There's the Planet Fitness that I go to when I'm here in town. Love Planet Fitness. There's a Walmart up here that we're gonna pass. And they used to allow RVs to overnight, and then they no longer do. And I can see why, because I remember in 2019 passing by and going to the Walmart. I never actually stayed there, but seeing people totally abusing it. And that's so sad to me, so they no longer allow it. And then we just keep going straight forward. So interesting story coming up here. Every time I pass through this area, oh, this is quite a hill to charge up. But boy, look at that. Grateful for the tailwind. So interesting story coming up this hill. I always think about this. Back in 2019, on my first RV, when I was really new to all of this, I had come to Bullhead City for the first or second time. And at that time, I had a different parking space that I like that's no longer available. But I had just gotten into town and developed a propane leak in the RV's native heater, which I never used, but I could smell propane in the RV. And I had a propane detector and it wouldn't go off. So I actually got the propane heater. And so right there, there's an RV place right there that I took the RV to and had them cap off the propane line to the heater, which I never used. And that was just an easy solution because I used the Wave 6 heater. So yeah, so I always, every time I drive by this area, I think about that. So now we kind of are leaving the major area and it kind of turns into like farm. There's just lots of farming going on. And then we'll be approaching California down here at the end of the valley for a bit, and then gas will get really expensive. Oatman 13. Okay, so this road right here, this intersection, if we turned left and we went way that way, we would go up to the little ghost town of Oatman. It's no longer a ghost town because it's turned into basically a big tourist trap, but it's a remnant of a major mining town that used to be there. So you just go up this road, and I've actually camped up there a couple of times just down from Oatman. So you basically just go way up there, and there is Oatman. So you just way up that road right there. And it's really kind of dramatic scenery when you get up there. Okay, so we're now about to pass into California. I think this is Needles. Sorry for the non-level videoing here. I'm doing this with my hand. So there's one thing about, look at the wind. So there's one thing about Needles here that you have to be really careful if you're in an RV and you're trying to have like Siri or something direct you, is it will normally try and take you under an underpass that is too low and you will run into it. So I'm always like really careful. The first time I did it, I looked at it and there were big signs saying no RVs or, you know, trucks. And if I wasn't paying attention, that could have been a disaster. Okay, and here we go. So crossing over into California, and there you can see the blue water, the Colorado River. There's an RV park right down there. And now we're in California, I'm pretty sure. So this is where I have to turn. There is a train crossing up there that is not, you can't do. You got to turn right here. Let's see. So there used to be a gas station here, but I'm guessing no one ever went to it because it was so freaking expensive here. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh my gosh. $5.49 for gas here. Almost $2 cheaper.
Use the left lane to merge onto I-40 East.
Yep, so that's it. That's the little jaunt through Needles. And then we're back on the freeway. So we're kind of passing through the bit of downtown of Needles here. Again, like I said, function and no form. So between Needles and the turnoff to Lake Havasu, there's just this sort of 20-mile stretch of desert scenery like this. There are a couple of sections that we'll be coming up to that actually have some remarkably cool geology. Here's the California checkpoint. So anytime you're going north from Lake Havasu up to Bullhead City, you always have to pass through this checkpoint, California checkpoint here. There's some sort of operation of some sort going on right here. Arizona state lines. Okay, we just passed into Arizona again. Okay, Lake Havasu City and Parker, 7 miles ahead. Minutes to Lake Havasu, 25. So Lake Havasu and Parker. Roads, bumpy. They've got to redo these. Man, all of that down there used to be like this, just terrible. Okay, so there's a Pilots. I've never actually stopped it there. I usually go to...
For about 18 miles, continue straight.
Okay. You can see there are people camping off to the left. Lots of people camping out there. Okay, and now we're starting to go down into this really dramatic area. I always love going through here. And pretty soon we'll be seeing Lake Havasu. Boy, it's green. So we're about to pass a couple of very popular camping spots. I've never actually camped out here because it was never really easy for me to get my scooter. But now that I've got a more powerful scooter, it's possible that I could get out here. Lots of people. See all those people camping out there? And then just, this is so interesting to me. I just love the geological formations here. So we're now dropping into the valley that Lake Havasu is in. And then there should be another camping area around here coming up that again I've never been to. Ooh boy, wind side shear. So there's another camping area right back somewhere around here. You can see a few people there. And then off to the right, there's going to be another handful of people that like to camp in this area. And then here we go. I see the first hint of Lake Havasu. Boy, the winds through here are kind of crazy. First glimmer of Lake Havasu. Yep. And it says, entering Lake Havasu City, elevation 575. And then right as you get into town is the Walmart. So I'm not going to stop at this Walmart. There's a Walmart in Parker that I'm going to stop at. And then right up over that direction, back in 2019 when I came here for the first time in my first RV, I found a boondocking spot, an urban camping spot here in Lake Havasu that I was at for a couple days. And then I ended up getting a knock on the door by a police officer, and he says, you can't do that here. And he directed me to the place that I go to now, the BLM land just outside of town. So I learned my lesson about that. They don't like RVs in town here unless you're just passing through. And now we're moving into the very southern part of Lake Havasu. It's just a mix of sort of retail, industrial retail, and residential. And there's a grocery store coming up that I've spent a lot of time at because they've got a coffee shop in it. And that grocery store is a Bosch's. Sort of a, I guess it's a chain here in Arizona. But I've spent a lot of time there at the Bosch's because sometimes when I'm camped out on that BLM land, I don't want to go all the way in town, but I do want to get away from the RV for a bit and be around people and work and whatnot. Now we're basically approaching the very edge of Lake Havasu, and also fortunately there's an Ace Hardware store coming up here on the right. It's really convenient. I've gone in there a couple of times and gotten some things. There's a dollar store right up there. And then this light, I always hit this light just wrong. But there, yep, see, it just turned. I lose all my momentum. But there's an Ace Hardware store right there. And I've had like keys made there and got nuts and bolts and just miscellaneous things. It's super convenient. And so there's still a little bit of residential on the left, and then there's some event going on right there. A bunch of RVs and trailers and campers. So there's still some residential on the right, you can see. And then right up around the corner here of these hills is the very last house in Lake Havasu, and then it just abruptly stops. So just a little bit of residential right there, and there's one house right there at the very end by a light or by a power distribution pole, and that is the last house in Lake Havasu. And now we're on to BLM land. This is technically state trust land, and I see some people camping over there, but the BLM land starts right up here, and the spot that I always stay at is just another half mile up. Okay, and then right up here is my camping area. I can see the sign already. There's a sign right there that helps me identify it even at night. And I can see RVs, I can see trailers already. And this is where I always camp. You can see lots of people out there. And there's a road, this is called the quarry site. And there is the road that I pull off. But tonight I'm going down to Quartzsite. And then as we go forward, there will be more areas where people pull off and camp. And I've never gone farther. Well, one, because it's farther out, but this is a 65 mile an hour zone. And my previous scooter, it was just hard to get out here. So you can see there's more people right here. See the pull off there. And then there will be more up here on the left. And every now and then there will be some on the right, but most of it's on the left. Oh, somebody's having issues. The Blue Water Resort and Casino. And then right after that, a bunch of blank land, is the Walmart. So Parker doesn't seem very large, but they've got a medium-sized Walmart. It's not a Walmart supercenter, but it serves a lot of local surrounding communities. And it's right there, right off to the right. And then right across the street from that is like a Safeway type of grocery store. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start looking at gas prices. I've gotten gas there, $2.60. That's actually pretty good. I'm going to go further into town. So anyway, that's kind of what I have for you right now. So thanks for watching.